Founded by German freethinkers, determined to find freedom from dictatorial monarchies and clerics, Comfort, Texas remains an unincorporated census-designated area today. To that end, Comfort residents and businesses historically relied on community support and a spirit of the possible to be successful. To this day, Comfort is a place where people gather, they celebrate, and tap into the essence of the earliest settlers of the Texas Hill Country. Comfort is known in the region for its annual Christmas in Comfort celebration and is an ideal spot for tourists and weekend travelers wanting to experience the magic of the Texas Hill Country without the crowds. Welcome to this week's episode of the Building Texas Show. We're sitting here in Comfort, and we're sitting outside in Comfort in a gazebo that I really enjoy that you can find behind Hotel Giles. Throughout our Comfort feature, you'll hear the name Alfred Giles often, and you'll hear a lot of respect and a lot of praise for what Alfred Giles built here in Comfort, and that is primarily known as the Hotel Giles facility, but it is also the Ingenhut and other buildings around town in San Antonio and courthouses throughout South Texas.
He was prolific in Texas and as well as in Mexico. You can find a number of his buildings.
And we're sitting here with the person that has taken on that challenge of really keeping this thing running, keeping it active and producing for our community here in Comfort. But Ernie, you are Hotel Giles in my mind. I think there's others with you that make this possible. But thank you so much for sitting down with us today and talking about the hotel and what it means to Comfort.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
How do you find yourself in Comfort?
Well, the short of it is in 2016, my wife and I came down for a friend's wedding, and we just fell in love with the town.
So you came in and never left? Well, left, but came back.
We left. We decided that weekend, even though we got flooded out and evacuated, we decided that if the opportunity came up, we were going to move down here.
And what was it that really attracted y'all to that? It sounds like a weekend in 2016, you're here for a wedding. There was a flood, you had all kinds of excitement, which is not unheard of in hill country existence. When it rains, every now and then, it really rains. But what was it that in all of that said, oh yeah, this is where we want to be?
We immediately fell in love with the sense of community, the history of the town, the fact it was founded by German freethinkers in the 1850s, and it still kind of has that sense of independence and community and everybody helping everybody else. You can walk around any business today as it was in the past, and you walk into my business and I'm going to refer you to other businesses. We're going to work in cooperation with one another as much as possible to support one another.
Yeah.
We're in an unincorporated town. And a lot of the stuff, we just take care of ourselves.
It really is the community making decisions and supporting each other that makes it work.
Yes, absolutely.
And the unincorporated town, we've covered it in some past episodes, but I just want to call out, Comfort, Texas is not a city.
Nope.
It is truly unincorporated county land, so from a government standpoint, you have a commissioner, county commissioner, but that's pretty much it in your representation.
That is it. We don't have a police force, a city hall.
Volunteer fire.
We have a volunteer fire department, chamber of commerce that is really focused on helping build businesses and getting out of the Parks and Rec arena.
Yeah. Which is a whole conversation we won't have today, but in a community without all of the resources that we would typically think of as a city, that is a problem. You can try to take on so much because you're trying to do the right thing, and that's the intentionality of we're trying to do the right thing and be the solution. But in some cases, it's a lot to bite off.
Sometimes you can take on too much.
Yeah. How do you avoid that burnout in a community where it is you and others rolling up their sleeves?
Me personally, I joined a band.
There you go.
But multiple times a week here, there are just potlucks around town.
Yeah.
Where people just get together and commune with one another and support one another. When we put on events, for example, we'll have concerts here in our courtyard, and we make sure that the community's invited. Every Friday night here at the hotel, we have a happy hour where we invite locals as well as our guests, and we have local musicians come in and just do a jam session. And we do that for about 3 hours and just try to enjoy one another's company.
That's incredible, and what an opportunity for somebody that just happens to discover comfort. And on a Friday night, you roll in and you see Ernie in the band, or whoever it might be playing.
Yeah, it could be anybody.
It could be anybody, and that might include famous musicians. We are an eclectic community of artists, songwriters, authors. There's so many talented people here.
That is true. We have had some. I'm not at liberty to disclose, I don't suppose, because I haven't talked to him, but we've had some pretty well-known artists here. Anybody that's familiar with Anthony Garcia, he's played here on multiple occasions, and occasionally he's even joined our picking circle.
That's awesome. But that's what attracts. And to your point, that's why you and your wife moved here, is the connection of people.
Yes.
And you saw it immediately.
It was, you just couldn't miss it when we were going through town.
That's awesome. And has that continued? So that was 2016 experience. Yes. 8 years later.
It has. Some things have changed. When my wife moved here in 2019, a lot of businesses were thriving.
Yep.
Then there was COVID, and it had some impact on business, and some places closed down. Mostly, not necessarily because of business, because it just wasn't as much fun. We weren't getting as many tourists as we had been.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see a shift in that. Folks coming in, and folks that care about the town purchasing buildings, and I don't know how much about the pop-ups you've seen around here lately, but folks volunteering their services, their properties to bring business in and make it attractive to folks.
Without the long-term commitment. And that's what I enjoy about the pop-up initiative. And we talked to Kara Hines from Mixed House Gallery and Lisa from Freethinkers General Store around that pop-up concept and really what it does. And it was interesting to me because they're saying, how do we take these buildings that are empty, they don't have a long-term tenant, but breathe some short-term life into them and show the art of what could we do here?
Yes.
And that builds excitement when alternatively you just see a dormant building. And that can have a non-motivational culture to it. It
can have a negative impact.
Yeah.
Part of what we're doing here specifically at the hotel, because we're on the center of downtown. We're the biggest building. And we feel not only a kindred spirit to the town, but we also feel a responsibility to the town. Yeah. And the word that I was looking for, I'm slipping my mind. But we feel a responsibility to help our neighbors, to support our neighbors. And part of what we're doing with that, weekends are pretty easy here.
Yeah.
And that's especially during wedding season.
Yeah.
So we're working on efforts to bring in workshops, artist retreats, musicians, writers, car clubs, where they can come in during the week, spend some time here relaxing, listen to some music, get creative. We've got a beautiful property, it's quiet, and draw that in during the week so that overflows into our business community around us. We go to great efforts to ensure that we try to collaborate when we have those type of events with local caterers, folks that are in town, and just lift everybody up as much as we can, get some excitement in town. In February, we've got a week-long songwriters workshop coming up.
That's awesome.
And those guys come in for about 2 days when things are really quiet in town. About the third day, they're ready to start exploring the town. That's about when everybody's opening up.
Yeah.
And they get out and they've gotten some excitement and they're looking for some inspiration. And inspiration is easy to find around here if you just look a little bit.
I echo that sentiment because that's what I think about a lot. When I first started paying attention to comfort in the way around economic development, around what is working and where's their opportunity, I see a lot of push for Christmas in comfort or the 4th of July, but I worried about the time in between. And at first, just the weekends, right? How do we ensure that the weekends that aren't special event weekends see traffic and are still engaging? But then you bring up the Monday through Friday, and that is so much opportunity in that revenue cycle. If we just have weekends, let's be kind and say that's 3 of the 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
That other 4 days, you still have to pay your power bill. You still have to upkeep the building and pay staff. So how does a hotel like this, and Hotel Giles is, how many rooms? About
15 rooms.
Okay.
We can sleep 32 without rollaways. So we've got 16 beds.
So you could attract a smaller company, a retreat, a group of songwriter circle, I think but it's a niche size, and there's not a lot of other hotels. There's other Airbnbs, there's other lodging solutions, but if I'm just sitting down here, where else could I stay?
Well, there's a number of B&Bs, and we keep a list. So, for example, if we don't have something that somebody needs or we're full, I'll start calling the local B&Bs and trying to set them up.
That's generous and kind.
There's the Meyer Inn just down the road.
Yeah.
And then there's Camp Comfort.
Okay.
And those are pretty much it for the historic district of town.
Yeah.
Other than a number of B&Bs, like I said. There are a couple outside of town as well. And if somebody calls us and we don't have what they're looking for, we can probably find it. For example, if somebody's looking for, I need a house out in the country. I've got a 2-bedroom house with a full kitchen and a beautiful valley view that I can refer you over to.
And how does that come back to you? Because where we started the conversation is the community is very collaborative. And I know that you lean into that fully. Where does that come back around? Do all of the other business owners share that sentiment?
It is not uncommon for us to get referrals from other folks. And even if we don't,
you're still going to do it.
We're still going to do it because we feel it's the right thing to do.
You know, that comment's come up as we featured comfort across a number of episodes, but doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do has come up in at least 4 of the conversations. And what a great thing to hear and see in a community culture where right is really understood to be what's right for your neighbor, the person walking down the street next to you. It doesn't seem that there's a difference. It's not like, oh, you're not from here, I'm going to do something different. I think you would show up the same.
By far. Yeah. That is the general consensus. Every town has its characters.
Oh, yeah.
That's
We know and love.
Are not in lockstep with everybody. But as long as everybody, for the most part, everybody moving in mass in one direction even catches those folks up.
Yeah, it seems to be. And you mentioned the pop-up initiative, and I so appreciate that team's doing that. You talk about the chamber, and you're active in that community, so thank you for serving in that way. But it is a lot of people here in Comfort, arm in arm, on how do we promote, how do we attract.
Yes.
And that's not an easy formula to solve. And it becomes harder with technology. It becomes harder in ways of, well, this is a town that is really quaint. But if you drive on 27, you could miss Hotel Giles.
Yes, we're one block off of 27, and it is easy to miss. I can't tell you the number of times I've had people come in and for some reason they got off of 27 and drove over one block to High Street and went, I've been driving through here for years and never knew this was here.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the chamber. I know that the chamber is working on ways to draw that not only to the downtown area, but to Comfort in general, to all the businesses in Comfort.
Because it's easy to stay on I-10 between San Antonio and Kerrville.
Oh, absolutely.
And never know Comfort.
I did that for years. I grew up in San Angelo and drove down here for years and never saw Comfort till 2016.
That's incredible. But what an opportunity for the community to just attract 1% of those people in. And it could be a game changer.
Oh, absolutely.
That traffic on I-10 is constant. So the people and the teams, yourself and the hotel included, are creating that magnet. And you have such a beautiful starting point with the work that Alfred Giles, Bob Potter, all of these names over history have invested in. Now you're investing in the future.
Yes.
Looking towards that future, what are you excited about? What's coming up?
I think that Comfort is in such a unique position in that over the course of time, it has always managed to keep that small feel and attract folks that wanted that wanted to be able to come and relax and to experience a warm and welcoming environment. We make a lot of our decisions specifically here at the hotel geared towards that.
Yeah.
Make people feel like family.
Yeah.
We intentionally don't have regular cable TV in the room. It's basic Roku and some Netflix. You're not going to be able to get the Super Bowl here.
Yeah, but that's not why you come to Comfort.
I'm going to refer you down to someplace else. If you come into town because you want to see the Super Bowl, I'm going to send you down to one of the other establishments in town so you can support them.
Yeah. But you know what you do, and you know what you're good at, and you know why people are coming here. And so now it's taking that and expanding it.
Yes, and the balance is keeping Comfort that small, unique place with that hometown feel, and convincing people to come here. And then if you want to go out to do the wild, crazy things or be in the big crowds, okay, well, you can go over to Fredericksburg, you can go over to Bernie, you can go over to Bandera. We're central to that location. You can go get all the excitement and wear yourself out. Then you come back here and you meet some warm, welcoming people, and you get to relax. It's quiet, and just enjoy breathing.
I refer to it as a step back in time almost. It really does feel like 30 years ago in my memory. It might be somebody else's timeline, but it feels like 30 years ago, where it is a small, you can walk across the street, you can walk down the street very comfortably. You can look up in the sky at night and see all the stars. Oh,
absolutely. And Comfort is big on a night sky initiative. The hotel itself is night sky certified.
Yep.
Our gazebo lights go out generally before 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock, and it's just pristine skies. And most of the town is like that.
And if you took a walk, and I love the block that we're on, if you take a walk around that block, you're looking at some incredible architecture. You're looking at buildings and homes that are 100 plus years old, still being used today. It is still very much an active historic district in downtown.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you like those historic homes, like that walk is great for you.
Oh, it's stunning. And we've got 22 historic markers in town.
Yeah, right here.
Right here, all within walking distance. Yeah. We've got the very first Union monument, a Union loyalist, 5 blocks down the street.
Which is a story no one really talks about enough, in my opinion, because that is the free thinker mentality on display. And I don't know that they were political. They just didn't agree with the thesis.
No, they were Union loyalists and trying to get to Mexico, and
didn't make it.
Did not make it.
Yeah,
we'll call it that. And their remains are 6 blocks or 5 blocks away from here.
And most people historically would say, well, Texas was a Confederate state. Why is there a Union monument in it? And again, I think it's the mentality of our freethinkers, and they wanted to honor that. They still honor that. And the community keeps that very clean. They keep it ready to be on display and are proud to have it in town.
Oh, absolutely. The Comfort Heritage Foundation takes that. They clean that every year. They're very big on the history of our town.
Yeah.
Most of this block right here that we're sitting on, most everything was built before 1900.
Yeah. And still looks incredible.
Yeah.
Structurally very sound and serving a community 100 plus years later.
Absolutely. And we are big on maintaining our history and keeping that old time feel.
It's amazing to see the thread between the interviews and Comfort. And it comes back to the Heritage Foundation has been brought up almost every time, because there is a drive and a desire and a will to keep the heritage of Comfort very much front and center. But then there's an acknowledgement of the modern world coming around us, and how do we create opportunity for the kids that are coming out of Comfort ISD, and showing them an opportunity to live and work in Comfort or in our nearby communities, Kerrville, Bernie, San Antonio, but come back home to Comfort. I think our region's biggest export is our talent, meaning our kids we've invested in, our retirees that maybe stop engaging in the economic prosperity of the region. When we let that talent escape, we lose so much energy, and kids in particular, when they don't come back, that means they're selling family land, they're divesting the area, instead of what I see people like you coming in and really investing in the area to try and maintain that heritage and show those people that they don't have to leave. They could come and do a lot of things here.
That is a difficult challenge, and I think Comfort has faced that for years. A lot of times that talent goes out and they do great things, and then they do end up coming back. We've got a number of folks here. One of our neighbors is a retired Air Force colonel. He grew up here and went on to do some pretty great things.
Yep.
And now he shares a fence line with me. We've got a retired Navy Rear Admiral here. Mm-hmm. We've got a retired NASA rocket scientist. Yep. Got a lady that ran the biology lab at NASA. So,
the science director for Jurassic Park, the movie.
Exactly.
I mean, it's incredible to see the people that are your everyday people in Comfort, and they own the businesses. They've invested in the buildings that they have. They've built nice pollinator gardens, whatever it might be. But those are the people. They built a career, they built something, and now they've brought it back into comfort.
They're coming back and they're investing in the community.
Yeah.
And we're working on ways to engage the younger generation and engage them in here's things that we're doing. Here's what makes the town that you live in, that you grew up in, that you're kind of probably taken for granted.
Yeah.
Because we all did.
We all did.
We all did. These are the things that make it special, and these are the things that if you leave, you're going to miss them eventually.
Yeah. And
you're probably going to want to come back. There's so many stories of folks that their families were here, they'd spend summers here, and eventually the property's passed, or they came back and the property had been sold, and they go back and they buy it, and they're in rehabbing those buildings.
Yep.
And they're doing it the way they originally were built.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman in town now that's on a 3-year restoration of family property, and he is hand cutting timbers.
Yep.
With a broad axe, because that's the way it was done, and that's what would make it authentic.
That is a commitment. I've swung a broad axe, and I don't know how long I'd want to do that. But that is, these historical homes, historical hotels, all of these buildings were built with such care and love when they were originally done, because that's what you had to do to make things. And the people that built out here 100 years ago were truly those free-thinking, independent people that just made things work. And I see that very much still alive as a mindset and a way of life here on High Street in Comfort.
Oh, absolutely. We're everybody I know on this street, all these business owners are dedicated to preserving the buildings. Maybe they have to be repurposed a little bit.
Yeah.
For example, the building right behind us is the original carriage house to the property. So there used to be a stagecoach parked where those doors are. And it's been converted to our breakfast room and a little convention or small meeting room.
Yeah.
But the bones of that building are the same as they were in 1880 when it was built.
And just as solid as they were put in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I so appreciate that people like you are here investing your time, talent, and treasure into maintaining that heritage and creating a future that does attract people from all over the world to come see the architectural wonder that is Hotel Giles, but then to discover the artisans, the community, the restaurants that really make Comfort unique as you're touring across Texas.
Oh, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Ernie, thank you for the way you're building Texas, the impact that you're having, and your commitment to service. It's continues to be what I see coming from you time and time again. So thank you for the time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you to all of our sponsors who have helped feature Comfort Texas on the Building Texas Show. Please visit comfort.buildingtexasshow.com to learn more about these sponsors, Comfort Texas, and to plan your next road trip into the Texas Hill Country. To learn more, visit our website, buildingtexasshow.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook at Building Texas.